In this video, we're going to talk about multiplying whole numbers by fractions, whole numbers by mixed numbers, fractions, and fractions and mixed numbers. So first, we're going to start with multiplying a whole number by a fraction. When we multiply a whole number by a fraction, we're going to put a 1 underneath the whole number and just multiply across. So we multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators. So 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 1 is 3. Now we need to make that into a mixed number. 3 goes into 10 3 times, and then there's 1 left over. If we had 2 times 1/10, we would stick a 1 underneath the whole, multiply 2 times 1, which is 2. 1 times 10 is 10. Now this is a proper fraction, but it can still be simplified. Both 2 and 10 share 2. So when we simplify it, we get 1/5. That is how we multiply a whole number by a fraction. Now we're going to multiply two fractions. 2/5 times 3/4. All we have to do is multiply just like before, our numerators and our denominators. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 4 is 20. Now both 6 and 20 share 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So the answer is 3/10. Now, probably one of the harder problems with multiplication is when you are multiplying two mixed numbers together, a fraction, a mixed number, or a whole number and a mixed number. So let's start by doing a fraction multiplied by a mixed number. To multiply a fraction and a mixed number, we have to have them both be fractions. So we're going to keep 2/3 the same, but we need to make our mixed number into an improper fraction. So to make our mixed number an improper fraction, we multiply the whole number by the denominator. So first, we are going to do 2 times 5, and that gives us 10. Then we add the numerator. So 10 plus 1 is 11. So 11 is in our numerator. Our denominator stays the same. So we multiply the whole by the denominator, 2 times 5, which is 10. Then we add the numerator, which is 11. Now we have two fractions. We know how to multiply two fractions. 2 times 11 is 22. 3 times 5 is 15. That's an improper fraction. So 15 goes into 22 once, and we have 7/15 left. That is how we multiply a mixed number and a fraction. So now let's multiply two mixed numbers together. So 3 and 1/3 times 2 and 2/5. So we have to make them both improper fractions. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Denominator stays the same. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Denominator stays the same. Now we multiply. 10 times 12 is 120. 5 times 3 is 15. We have to make this into a mixed number. So 15 can't go into 1, can't go into 12. So we just have to figure out how many times 15 goes into 120. This is good practice with our two-digit division. So we can try some guesses. I know 15 times 10 is 150, so I know it's going to be a little bit less than that. So we can try 15 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. So it goes in exactly 8 times. Okay, so our answer is just whole number 8. Okay. So when we have two mixed numbers, we have to make both of them improper fractions and then multiply across and simplify. If we had a whole number times a mixed number, we would stick a 1 underneath the whole number, and then we would make this an improper fraction. So 2 times 6 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Keep the denominator the same. Multiply across. 14 times 5 is 70. 1 times 6 is 6. Need to make this into a mixed number. 6 goes into 7 once. 6 goes into 10 once. So we have 11 wholes with 4 6 left over. And we can simplify it to be 11 and 2/3 by dividing by 2. Okay? Now if we have a rectangle or a square, and we are told to find the area, all we have to do is do length times width. So it would be 2/3 times 1/5 equals 2/15. And that's how we find the area with fractions. Now, for some of the questions, we talk about something called scaling. And it will have a whole number, such as 83, and it will multiply it by a fraction such as 5/4. It may multiply by a fraction such as 2/3, or it may multiply by a fraction such as 6/6. When we're talking about scaling like this, and we talk about the effect fractions have on whole numbers, we've talked about this in class. But whenever we multiply a whole number, like 83, by an improper fraction, we automatically know that our answer is going to be greater than 83. If we multiply a whole number by a proper fraction, our answer will be less than 83. And if we multiply our whole number that is multiplied by a fraction that is equal to 1 whole, then our answer is going to equal 83, or whatever our whole number is. Okay, so that's when we talk about scaling, and we talk about not even having to do the multiplication. We just know our answers will either be greater than if it's improper, less than if it's proper, and equal to if it's equal to a whole. If you have any questions, comment below, and I can answer anything that you have for me, or you can message me on Class Dojo. Thanks.